Before we begin, I want to offer a sincere thank you and full credit to Hale Dwoskin and Sedona Training Associates, and to Hale personally for giving me permission to share this audiobook with you. This reading is a little different from a traditional audiobook. I first created these recordings for my own practice with releasing, shaping the material in a way that helped it settle more deeply into my life. Because of that, you'll hear a combination of Hale's original wording, passages I've rephrased for clarity, and a handful of personal reflections or references to related teachings that helped me understand the principles more fully. But you can rest assured, nothing essential has been removed. You're not missing any important points from the chapters. The core lessons and structure of the book are all intact. My aim isn't to replace Hale's voice, but to expand on the ideas. The additions, though, are simply my interpretations and may not reflect exactly what Hale intended. If you'd like the unfiltered teachings directly from the source, their website is linked in the description. I will say, despite my studies, I'm still not very good at releasing. Maybe by sharing this, we can help each other release and go free together. And with that, let's begin.
The Sedona Method by Hale Dwoskin. Chapter 3. Your Roadmap to Emotional Freedom.
This chapter is designed to help you explore and release through the 9 basic emotional states that every one of us moves through each day. They are apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, courage, acceptance, and peace, also known as agflap and cap. As you work with these emotional states, you'll gain clearer insight into your own inner world and into the emotions of others, and you'll find it easier to weave conscious releasing into your daily life.
Freedom and imperturbability.
Freedom or imperturbability is the ultimate goal of the Sedona Method. The freedom to choose to have, be or do, or to not have, be or do, anything and everything. This is the natural state of being when we are no longer thrown off balance by whatever happens around us. Your freedom isn't somewhere in the distance. It already exists here and now, resting just beneath the surface of your emotions. And as you master releasing, you'll eventually uncover it within. Then, nothing and no one can perturb you. You'll still be fully aware of everything that's taking place, and you'll still experience life to the fullest, but you won't be attached to or bothered by any particular outcome. You will remain steady, calm, and at peace. Now, I assure you that imperturbability does not mean becoming an emotionless robot or floating through life in forced detachment. Releasing in no way leads to emotional deadness. The exact opposite is true. It's more like being the still center of a storm, aware of the movement around you, but not swept up by it. You still feel the sensations of life, but without the panic, the resistance, or the inner commentary of "this shouldn't be happening." Your mind may wonder, But do I really want to let go of all my emotions? Aren't they what makes life feel alive? Releasing does not lead to emotional dullness. In fact, the opposite is true. Because we suppress so much, we rarely allow ourselves to feel anything fully. That suppression creates a numbness that disconnects us far more from the richness of life than any so-called negative emotion ever could. Once you realize that you can let emotions flow through you rather than pushing them back down, rather than letting them define you, and you actually start letting them flow, you'll discover that you can feel everything more deeply and in a far more positive way. You will rest safely in the knowledge that no feeling has power over you unless you choose to allow it. Imagine a still lake. When the water is quiet, you can see into the depths of the water. When the water is turbulent, the reflection becomes distorted, though the lake at its depth has not changed at all. Your emotions are the ripples. Your true being is the clear water beneath. Letting go isn't about forcing the waves to stop. It's simply recognizing that you are not the ripple. You are the depth. And when that is seen, the surface naturally calms. What is your now feeling? Pretend you're sinking deeper into your own lake. Watch the surface turbulence in the distance and allow it to be. Feel the feeling and let go. Could you just allow it to be there? Would you? When?
Uncover your intuition.
Many people hesitate when they first begin letting go because they believe their feelings give them important information. That feelings and intuition come from the same place. But the opposite is true. Although limiting feelings may seem to arise from the same place below conscious awareness as intuition does, intuition is actually the natural knowing of our true nature that gets obstructed and obscured by emotions. When we release, we don't lose intuition, we uncover it. The only guidance feelings provide is they tell you where your focus is and what kind of thoughts you're choosing to believe, what kind of thoughts your consciousness is identified with. Imagine your mind is like a radio that can tune into the station of truth, the frequency of your natural knowing. That's intuition. Now imagine that static, screeching noise that happens when you're halfway between stations. That's emotion. When fear, anger, or guilt are blaring, you can't hear the clear signal underneath. The emotion feels urgent and loud, but it's actually just interference. The act of releasing is like slowly turning the dial until the static fades and the signal, that quiet, steady voice of intuition, comes through crisp and clear. Emotion says, "Oh no, this is terrible. I must act right now or else." Intuition says, just wait a little longer. Relax and turn left. Maybe you should call your friend. Emotion is like a child tugging at your sleeve, desperate for attention. Intuition is like a gentle friend sitting beside you, waiting patiently for you to notice. When you release a feeling, if there was any intuitive truth behind it at all, that truth becomes brighter, simpler, and quieter. When we release, we uncover intuition. Lester used to say, intuition is only right 100% of the time. One of the tricky things about the ego is that its emotions are sneaky. They'll put on disguises and claim, I'm intuition, trust me. For example, fear says, don't take that risk, your intuition is warning you. Guilt says, you shouldn't do that, you're hurting so many people. Anger says, this is wrong, you must fight it. But real intuition doesn't panic or scold. It doesn't make threats or demand urgency. It simply offers quiet clarity, like a compass needle pointing north, whether you're in a storm or sunshine. When you release the emotional charge, what remains is that clean, grounded knowing, effortless, direct, and completely free of drama. There is a difference between intuition and emotional reactions, but until you can tell the difference between them, you may find this hard to accept. So, use the process of letting go to distinguish more easily between the two. Simply release in the moment and pay attention. You'll soon discover that as you let go of a limiting feeling, it diminishes or disappears, whereas intuition simply gets clearer and quieter when you release. You cannot release intuition. In fact, the more you release, the more intuitive you'll be, without even needing to let go in the moment. So reflect on everything we've just learned. Did it stir up any feelings inside? Any resistance? Any objections? Could you allow that feeling to be here? Could you let it complete itself? Give it all the space it needs. What happens when you don't mind how you feel about it? And could you just let go? Would you? When?
The 9 emotional states.
Inherent in all of us are 9 emotional states: apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, courageousness, acceptance, and peace, agflap, and cap, as Lester called them. They fall along a gradient of energy and action. In apathy, we have almost no energy available to us and take little or no external action. We have more energy and take more external action when we move up to grief. Each successive emotion in this scale, all the way up to peace, has more energy and affords us a greater capability for outward action. By the time you reach courageousness, you begin using energy creatively rather than reactively. In peace, all constriction falls away. You become one with the source itself. Or rather, you uncover your oneness that was already there. Now, before we move on to the emotions themselves, let's set the scene with a metaphor to help you see more clearly where you are, where you want to be, and what needs to be done to get there. The following illustration is from one of my favourite books, In Tune with the Infinite by Ralph Waldo Trine. I highly recommend you give it a read. So, I'd like you to imagine a beautiful lotus pond that receives its supply of water from an inexhaustible reservoir high on the mountainside. The pond is fed by a stream flowing down from the reservoir, and a small gate controls the flow of this water into the pond. The water in the pond is, in its quality and characteristics, exactly the same as that in the larger reservoir from which it comes, and it couldn't be otherwise. The only difference between the two bodies of water is this: the life on the mountain reservoir so far transcends the life of the individual pond and holds such vast abundance that it can supply countless other ponds like it and still remain unexhausted and overflowing. And so it is with each individual human life. As each stream flows out from the source, the water may gather sediment, leaves, petals, and flowers along its way, just as the human soul collects its own impressions, beliefs, and stories through experience. It builds up an ego. These additions, however, whether muddy or fragrant, do not change the nature of the water itself. They only colour its appearance for a time. Beneath it all, the water remains pure, ready to clear itself again when the flow is strong and unbroken. So how does this relate to your emotions? How does this relate to releasing? Remember, we said that it's the small gate that controls the flow of the water into the pond. The pure mountain water, limitless, peaceful, loving energy, wants to flow through you, and it will do exactly that if the gate remains open. In this analogy, the gate represents your mind and body, and your emotions are simply indicators of how open or closed the channel is. Now picture yourself standing at the gate. A tsunami of loving energy is trying to overflow your pond, and you, without knowing it, are spending a tremendous amount of energy trying to keep the gate closed. Take apathy, for example. When you're experiencing apathy, the gate is almost completely closed. Now, the irony of lower emotions like apathy is that the energy hasn't gone anywhere. It's just bottled up behind the gate, behind resistance. It's like a dam waiting for a single crack to start the flow again. As you release, and the gate that feeds the pond opens wide to admit an abundant supply of water, then it continually overflows. The lotus flowers rest in full bloom upon the still, clear surface of the water. Wild roses and other blossoms bloom endlessly along its banks. Birds come to drink, to bathe, and to sing their melodies from dawn until dusk. Bees hum busily among the flowers. Children often come to play by the water's edge, their laughter mingling with birdsong. Weary men and women sometimes wander there too, drawn by something they cannot name. Everything around the pond now seems alive with a spirit of kindliness, comfort, goodwill, and good cheer. Even the animals grazing nearby. Small streams trickle out from the pond, winding through the lower fields, giving pure mountain water to the cattle and flocks that graze there. And then the stream continues on, carrying its blessings to the neighbouring lands beyond. But without the living flow from the reservoir, its true source of life, the pond withers. The lotus flowers droop and die, their long stems sinking into the muddy bottom. The once clear waters grow stagnant. Fish that had thrived in the freshness of the current soon perish and give off an offensive odour to all who come near. The flowers no longer bloom on its banks, the birds no longer come to drink or bathe, and the hum of bees falls silent. The cheerful buzz of life that once surrounded the pond vanishes entirely. The whole scene, once radiant with vitality, now lies dull and lifeless. The only difference now is not all the things that seems to have happened to the pond, not the circumstances of your life, but it's the fact that the gate has been closed. Your mind, your body, your life experience is the lotus pond. The gate is how open you are. The more you suppress your feelings, the tighter the gate shuts. The thing to do then, to get from where you are to where you want to be, is to open the gates. To make this easier to follow, let's consider Hale's more straightforward illustration. Imagine your emotions as the way you experience that reservoir of energy being channeled through a garden hose. This time, the hose represents your body and mind. When you're in apathy, the hose is almost totally crimped, letting very little energy through. In grief, it's a little more open. In fear, pressure rises but sprays out chaotically. In lust, the flow surges but is not yet steady or appropriately directed. In anger, there is plenty of force, often too much, but still tangled in resistance. In pride, the stream flows, but you grip the hose too tightly. At these lower levels of agflap, energy is present, but restricted. By the time you get to courageousness, it's mostly open, so you can focus your energy on creating what you choose. You stop wrestling with life and begin directing your energy intentionally. In acceptance, the flow becomes harmonious, effortless and natural. And in peace, the hose dissolves entirely and there is no longer any constriction. You are one with the ocean. No constriction, no separation, just effortless being. If you look at your emotions this way, using them to show you how constricted your hose is, it can help you to stop judging yourself for those emotions you do or do not have, because after all, emotions are just energy. It can help to bring compassion back into the process. When you're stuck in lower states like apathy, grief, or fear, it's not because you're broken, it's just that your hose is kinked. Would you judge a garden hose for being twisted? Would you yell at it for not watering the plants? No, you gently find the kink and release it. That's what you're doing here. Every emotional release is simply unkinking the hose, allowing a little more of that pure mountain water to move through. Please use the remainder of this chapter to help you identify which emotional state you're experiencing in any given moment. Refer to the lists of words and phrases that describe each of the 9 emotional states whenever you're having a hard time getting in touch with what you're feeling. For instance, if you find that you often give up, feel negative about yourself or others, or just have a hard time getting started, you're probably experiencing a state of apathy. Perhaps you find yourself thinking, I'm not like them. I'm smarter than everyone. Thoughts and feelings of this nature indicate that you're probably experiencing a state of pride. You'll probably find that you can relate more easily to certain emotions than others, and that you tend to spend more time experiencing certain emotional states than others. It is important, however, to work on releasing your emotions while experiencing all 9 emotional states in order to attain true imperturbability and freedom in life. The 9 emotional categories are a way to make sense of the large part of our mind that is below our conscious awareness. This part of our mind is like a junk drawer. You know, the place where you throw everything that you don't know what else to do with. Over time, we've tossed everything into this part of our minds that we didn't know how to handle or that remains unresolved in any way. As I mentioned earlier, any feeling that's not let go of gets stored in the subconscious mind, which is filled with buried emotional baggage and limiting thoughts and feelings. Every unresolved emotion, every I'll deal with it later, gets tossed into your subconscious until it's a cluttered mess of half-forgotten items. It can be frustrating trying to find anything in your junk drawer until you clear it out and organize its contents. Using the method, you can do this with the mind as well. As you release, you'll find your mind getting progressively sharper and your memory progressively clearer. Not only will you get clearer about what you're feeling in the moment, you'll also begin to understand other people's emotions better. When you visualize the scale of energy and action, or if you have the book, if you look at the chart at the end of this chapter, imagine that courageousness, acceptance, and peace are buried under the other emotions. As you let go of your apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, and pride, you'll be uncovering these higher energy emotions, which are the real you that has always been here. Your whole life will turn around as a result. Everything will get easier for you. Mr. Hent from Belgium says, "Understanding my feelings gives me a more powerful life with better focus. I feel more in present time. The Sedona Method course gave me what no other course ever did, a clear-cut system to support my goal of letting go of the barriers. I can also decide for myself where to go and how fast to develop." Now please be aware that the turnaround might not happen suddenly. It might be a gradual process. However, every time you work through the process of releasing, no matter where you start out, whether in apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, or pride, you will find that you tend to gravitate naturally towards courageousness, acceptance, and peace. Recognizing your underlying strengths in this way can make a tremendous difference in how you feel and act and your whole outlook on life. As you read through the 9 sections that follow, permit yourself to be as open as you can be to whatever feelings, thoughts, bodily sensations or pictures arise. Please pause any time you'd like to release whatever has come up. Definitely pause at the end of each section and spend some time releasing everything that is in your awareness. So, let's begin with apathy. When we experience apathy, it feels as though desire is dead and there's no use in even trying. We feel we can't do anything and no one else can help us either. There's a heaviness, dense, dull and unmoving, as though every option has collapsed inward. We withdraw and play weak so we won't get hurt. Our minds get so noisy that eventually we go numb. The pictures we hold become narrow and destructive. We only see failure, how we can't do it, and no one else can either. We have little or no energy to act on our pictures and thoughts because inwardly we are being pulled in so many conflicting directions. In the language of the hose analogy, this is the moment when the hose is folded in on itself so tightly and kinked that almost nothing moves. Trying to force it open, pushing yourself to act, to snap out of it, to be motivated, only tightens the kink further. The pressure builds, but the flow doesn't return. If, instead of fighting it, you simply allow the apathy to be here, the pressure begins to soften. This is why the Sedona Method's questions work so powerfully. They don't ask you to fix apathy or analyze where it came from or to rise above it. They gently open the hose by inviting you to loosen your grip around the emotion that's blocking the flow. The following is a list of words and phrases that describe apathy. I like to focus inwardly, say the words out loud and see what that stirs up inside. Sometimes I will even pair it with EFT tapping as I say them out loud, and then I ask the releasing questions when I'm ready to release. Again, if you are using EFT tapping, we are not using it to avoid the feeling or sedate ourselves or make ourselves feel better. It's just a useful anchor. So words that describe apathy include anything from the following. As I say them out loud, notice if anything gets stirred up inside, any memories, any emotions, any sensations. Bored. I can't win. Careless. Cold. Cut off. Feeling dead, defeated, depressed, demoralized. Feeling desolate. Feeling despair. Discouraged, disillusioned, doomed. Maybe you feel drained, like a failure, like you're forgetful, futile, feeling like giving up. Words like hardened, hopeless, humorless, I can't, I don't care, I don't count. Inattentive, indecisive, indifferent, invisible. It's too late, feeling lazy, I'll just let it wait. Feeling listless, feeling like a loser, feeling lost, negative, numb or overwhelmed. Words like powerless, resigned, shock, spaced out. Maybe stoned, stuck, too tired, unfeeling, unfocused, useless. And finally, vague, wasted, what's the use, why try, or worthless. Just allow yourself a moment to remember the last time you could relate to any of these words, the last time you felt apathy, or the last time you saw someone else in that state. Don't force anything. Don't try to dig up trauma. Just see what arises. Now see if you can meet this with openness. What is that feeling? How does it feel? Give all your attention to the feeling itself rather than the person or circumstance which seems to have caused it. Could you allow it to be here? Hold it in your hand. Could you open your hand just a little bit? You don't even have to drop the feeling yet. Just roll it around in your loose hand. Now, could you let it go? Would you? When? Yes or no are both perfect answers. Whatever else has arisen, is it welcomed here? Could you simply notice it without trying to fix it? If there's any wanting to change it, control it, understand it, or push it away, could you allow that too? Is there any sense that this apathy is you? Your identity, your story, your failure? If so, could you welcome that and gently let it soften? In this moment, are you the apathy or the awareness that notices it? I recommend you repeat the process for 9 rounds until you feel something loosen, even subtly. Then we move upward to the next emotion. Grief. When we experience grief, we want someone else to help us because we feel that we can't do anything on our own. We hope maybe someone else can. We cry out in pain for someone to do it for us. Our bodies have a little more energy, but the energy is so contracted that it's painful. Our minds are a little less cluttered, but still very noisy and opaque. We picture our pain and loss, often getting lost in these pictures. The pain feels immense, like an ocean that will swallow us if we let go of the shore. We replay memories, losses, and what ifs as if touching a bruise to see if it still hurts. Our thoughts revolve around how much we hurt, what we have lost, and whether we can get anyone else to help us. If apathy was the mud at the bottom of your lotus pond, grief is the first shoot of the lotus pushing upward toward the sediment. It's fragile and trembling, but it is moving. It remembers sunlight, even if it hasn't seen it yet. And it pushes through the cloudy water. It stirs up the sediment, the memories and regrets, making the water look dirtier than before. But that's the beautiful illusion. The disturbance means healing is underway. You can't clear the pond without stirring the bottom. So when grief comes, let it move, let it ache, let it flow, let it weep. Don't dam the river. It's the movement itself that purifies. So as you sit with grief, you can ask, could I welcome this feeling of loss as best as I can? Don't try to make the moment more spiritual. Just let it be. Could I allow this wanting for things to be different to just be here? Could I let go of wanting someone else to make it better? Each question is like loosening a finger from the grip on the past until the hand can finally open and the heart can rest again. Sarah dove into her grief and found a measure of peace. She understood that as long as she used the method, she could allow herself to grieve appropriately instead of being stuck in a constant state of sorrow. So before we list the words, let's try diving in. Close your eyes and focus inwardly. Allow that feeling to be stirred up. Affirm inwardly, I can handle this. Because the urge to turn away will come. I can assure you that who you really are, your body, your being, is more than capable of holding this emotion in awareness. The only thing that cannot handle it, that cannot take it, is the ego. It will say, this is too much, I don't like this. Just allow that, as we've been practicing, and dive into the very core of the feeling. Don't search for any other feeling other than the one you're in now. And imagine the feeling is expanding. Imagine you are magnifying it 100 times. Could you persuade yourself to go deeper? Use your breath as the anchor to go into the feeling. Could you dive into this feeling and just let it be? And could you go deeper still? Just experience this moment, not the stories about this moment, just the raw sensation, the raw emotion, and just let go. As we're diving in, I will list the words and phrases. See what it stirs up inside. Abandoned, abused, accused, anguished, maybe feeling ashamed, betrayed, blue, cheated, despair, disappointment, distraught, embarrassed, forgotten, maybe guilty, maybe heartbroken, heartache, heart sick, helpless and hurt. Maybe there's the feeling of if only. Ignored, inadequate, inconsolable. It's not fair. Grief can feel like longing, left out, loss, melancholy, misunderstood, mourning, neglected. Nobody cares, nobody loves me. It can be the sense of nostalgia, or maybe like you've been passed over. There might be pity, poor me, regret, rejected, remorse. There might be sadness, sorrow, tearful, tormented, torn or tortured. Unhappy, unloved, unwanted, vulnerable. Why me? Wounded. Allow yourself to take a few moments and remember the last time that you experienced grief. Then give yourself a few moments just to be with whatever feeling this memory brings up in this moment. What is your now feeling? Could you allow it to be here? Could you let go of the holding it down? Let go of refusing to feel it. Don't do anything to the feeling itself. Just open up. Would you? When? And whatever else appears, is it welcomed here? If there is any wanting to change it, control it, or understand it, could you allow that wanting too? reassure yourself it's okay. All of it. Seriously, you are safe. You are even safe to feel unsafe. Just allow it all to be. Could you notice if any part of this feels personal? As though it defines you? And if so, could you let that soften? Could you let it in, let it be, and set it free? Are you this feeling, or are you the one that notices it? As you use the Sedona method here, remember, you're not trying to stop the grief. You're just letting it flow freely enough that it cleans itself out. Again, repeat this for 9 rounds, or until something loosens, even subtly, and then move gently into the next emotion. Fear. When we experience fear, we want to strike out, but we don't because we think the risk is too great. We believe we'll probably get hit harder. We want to reach out, but don't because we think we'll get hurt. Our bodies have a little more energy, but the energy is still so contracted that it's mostly painful. Feelings can rise and fall very rapidly, like cool water on a hot skillet. Our minds are a little less cluttered, but still very noisy and opaque. You stand trembling at the threshold of action, not frozen like in apathy, not aching like in grief, but buzzing with conflicting impulses. Our pictures and thoughts are about doom and destruction. All we can think of and see is how we will get hurt, what we may lose, and how we must protect ourselves and those around us. If we go back to the lotus pond, imagine the flower has now pushed up through the mud and is encountering flowing water. It's not quite used to the current yet. It sways, trembles and bends, and the water feels rough, unpredictable, maybe even threatening. But that movement is the sign of progress. You can't grow into the open air without first learning how to dance with the current. So fear is that dance lesson. Awkward at first, sometimes overwhelming, but ultimately the very thing that teaches you balance and grace. Fear always shows up saying it's your bodyguard. It says, if you don't worry, you'll get blindsided. If you relax, you'll lose everything. If you trust, you'll get hurt. But what it really does is keep you frozen in the doorway of possibility, forever guarding you from the life you want to enter. When you see this clearly, you realize fear doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you stuck. Fear tightens the breath, shallow, quick, high in the chest. You don't need to get rid of fear, you just need to give it more room to move. So I want you to focus inwardly and picture the last time you felt fear. As I read through the words and phrases, just notice what comes up. When's the last time you felt anxious? Maybe apprehensive and cautious? Words like clammy, cowardice, defensive. Maybe you felt distrust, doubt, dread, embarrassed, feeling evasive, the feeling of foreboding, frantic, hesitant, horrified, hysterical. Have you ever felt inhibited, insecure, irrational? Fear can feel like nausea, nervousness, panic. You might have felt paralyzed, paranoid, scared, secretive. Feeling shaky, shy, skeptical. Things like stage fright, feeling superstitious, suspicious, tense, terrified, threatened. Maybe you felt timid, trapped, uncertain, uneasy. Fear feels vulnerable, like you want to escape. You feel wary, you feel worry. Just be with whatever feeling those memories and words bring up in this moment. Could you allow this feeling to be here just as it is? Could you allow yourself to see what is actually here and act or refrain from acting accordingly? Could you notice that the feeling is just a feeling? Let go of wanting to protect yourself from this feeling. Just let it be. Would you? When? The difference between a frightened person and a courageous one isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to release resistance to it. That's the doorway into courageousness. Could I simply welcome this trembling energy? Could I say inwardly or out loud, I can handle this? Could I allow it to move however it needs to? Or if it's stuck, could I let it be stuck? Could I let go of wanting to make it stop? Could I let go of wanting control? Just for now. Could I allow myself to trust that I will be okay even without controlling? And could I let go? Would I? When? For the purpose of the audiobook, we kept the pace going, but in your own time, don't rush anything. Let each question breathe. Each one is like a small exhale of resistance. With every breath, you open that hose a little more until the water runs smooth again. So cycle through the questions a few more times before you move on. Lust. When we experience lust, we desire possession. We are wanting. We hunger for money, power, sex, people, places and things, but with hesitation. We may or may not reach out. We have an underlying feeling that we cannot or should not have. Our bodies have a little more energy, but it's still quite contracted. But the sensations now are sometimes quite pleasurable, especially compared to the previous 3 lower energy emotions. Feelings can be very intense. Our minds are a little less cluttered than in fear, but still very noisy and obsessive. We may try and medicate our pictures with positive fantasies, but underneath our pictures are really about what we don't have. Our thoughts are about what we need to get and what we don't have. It circles endlessly around one thought. If only I had that, then I'd be complete. If only I was free of this, then I'd be complete. Money, success, recognition, a person, a feeling, and yet, no matter how much we do get, we never feel satisfied and rarely enjoy what we have. If apathy is the still mud, grief the stem rising through it, and fear the trembling in the current, then lust is when the lotus reaches the surface and sees sunlight for the first time. It glimpses beauty, possibility, something desirable, and the wanting becomes fierce. But the wanting is never really about the object. It's the river of life trying to pour through a hose that is still partly kinked, creating pressure, craving, intensity. The moment you loosen the kink, the wanting dissolves into flow, and the energy becomes creativity, clarity, and joy. Ron, a devoted Seattle Sonics fan, used to tremble with wanting his team to win. During the playoff games against the Chicago Bulls, he sat in the stands, releasing constantly on the desire to control the outcome. By letting go of the wanting, he enjoyed the game more fully. He felt calmer, lighter, and strangely euphoric, the same joy without the jitters. His wife now jokes that he must attend every game because the Sonics won each time he was there. This is the magic of releasing on lust. You rediscover joy without clinging, participation without desperation. So here are some words and phrases that describe lust. Again, notice what it stirs up inside, and then we'll go through some releasing questions. Reckless abandon. Anticipation. Callous. I just can't wait. Compulsive. Craving. Demanding, devious, driven. Grim determination. Envy. Exploitive. Fixated. Frenzy. Frustrated. Gluttonous, greedy, hoarding, hunger. I want. Impatient. Lascivious. Lecherous. Manipulative. Miserly. Must have it. Never enough. Never satisfied. Oblivious. Obsessed. Overindulgent. Possessive. Predatory. Pushy. Maybe you felt reckless, ruthless, scheming, selfish, voracious, wanton, wicked. Now allow yourself to take a few moments to remember the last time you experienced lust, any form of intense wanting. Let whatever feeling arises be here. What is your now feeling? Focus on the feeling itself rather than the thing or person or circumstance which seems to have stirred it up. Focus on the feeling. And could you allow it to be here? Could you let go of the holding on? Would you? When? And then, gently, whatever has come up, is it welcomed here? Could you allow the wanting? Could you welcome that sense of, I need this? Could you let go of wanting to have or not have? Could you let go of wanting control, of wanting completion from outside? If any part of this feels personal, as though the wanting defines you, could you let that soften? And then, are you the wanting, or the awareness noticing the wanting? Repeat a few more rounds, just until you feel some easing, some spaciousness, some release. Then move on to the next emotion. Anger. When we experience anger, we feel the desire to strike out, to hurt, to stop, to push back, but with hesitation. We may or may not act on it. Our bodies have more energy than in lust. The contraction loosens and the sensations can become extremely intense and sometimes explosive. Our minds are a little less cluttered than in lust, but still noisy, stubborn, argumentative, and obsessive. They rehearse scenes, build cases, and replay the same injury again and again. Our inner pictures revolve around destruction, what we want to say, what we want to do, how we're going to show them. And our thoughts follow the same line, getting even, making others pay, proving we were right and they were wrong. Sometimes it's not just people, it's circumstances, it's the present moment. We are angry at what is, because at least then we are right and the present moment is wrong. It serves no purpose whatsoever other than inflating the ego. Anger often feels powerful, but it can frighten us too. Sometimes the intensity is so great that we push ourselves back down the emotional scale into fear, grief, or even apathy, just to avoid the sheer force of it. And when we do act from anger, the actions are mostly destructive to ourselves and to those around us. If lust was the lotus getting the taste of sunlight again, anger does it with force. It pushes aside anything that gets in its way. Anger is not bad. It's the pressure of life force meeting a blockage. Releasing doesn't suppress the heat, it dissolves the blockage so the energy can rise into courageousness. So take a deep breath and focus inwardly. Allow yourself to take a few moments and remember the last time you experienced anger. When's the last time you felt abrasive, aggressive, annoyed, argumentative, belligerent, boiling, brooding, defiant, demanding? Maybe you felt destructive, disgust, explosive, feeling fierce, frustrated, fuming, furious. Anger can feel harsh, like hatred, hostility, indignance, feeling irate, jealous, livid. You might feel mad, mean, merciless, maybe murderous, outraged, pushy and rebellious. You might feel resentment, resistant, revolted, rude, savage, simmering, sizzling, smouldering. Feeling vengeful, vicious, violent, volcanic. Allow yourself to take a few moments and remember the last time you experienced anger. Whatever's being stirred up inside, let the feeling arise exactly as it is. What is your now feeling? Could you allow it to be here without trying to change it? Whatever has come up, is it welcomed here? Or could you at least notice it, let the sensations be as they wish, rather than gripping them? And notice, is there any wanting to fix the anger, justify it, act on it, control it, understand it? If so, could you welcome even that? And is there any sense that the anger is personal, about you, who you are, what you've done, or what was done to you? Could you welcome that sense of personal identity and just let it soften? Let it be. And now, could you let go of the tightness around this feeling? Would you? When? Repeat this a few more times until the intensity softens or space opens up around it. Release as much as you can and then continue to pride. When we experience pride, we want to maintain the existing state of things. We cling to the status quo. We resist change, resist movement, not just in ourselves, but in others too, so they won't pass us up, outshine us, or reveal what we secretly fear might be lacking. Our bodies have a little more energy than in anger, but that energy often becomes unavailable, not contracted like before, but muted, hidden, smoothed over. The mind is less cluttered than in anger, but still noisy, rigid, self-involved. It fixates on what we've done, what we know, what we believe we've earned. If we acknowledge others at all, it's often with the quiet hope that they'll notice how great we are, a subtle attempt to mask the nagging doubts underneath. Pride is like a thin sheet on the surface of the lotus pond, a reflective film that lets us admire our own image, but prevents us from seeing the deeper water beneath. It isn't confidence, it's armor, a brittle one. Martin was a high-powered executive. Early in his career, he climbed the corporate ladder quickly, stepping over people without much concern. But when he hit a career wall, he couldn't understand why his old approach no longer worked. He had been passed over for promotions and grew increasingly frustrated that no one recognized how much better he was than his peers. Through the Sedona Method tapes, he discovered he had slipped deeply into pride. The pride blinded him, not only to his own shortcomings, but to the support and goodwill that were available all around him if he had been open to receive it. As he let go, he began to appreciate the people around him, to collaborate rather than distance himself, and to soften the rigid stance that had isolated him. Once this shift took place, he was promoted, and now he knows he can keep rising without stepping on anyone along the way. So allow yourself a moment to remember the last time you experienced pride. Times you felt above reproach, arrogant, bigoted and boastful. Maybe you felt bored, maybe even clever, closed, complacent, conceited, contemptuous, cool, critical. Pride can be false dignity, false humility, false virtue. Holier than thou. Maybe you're gloating, hypocritical, icy, and isolated. Pride can be judgmental, being a know-it-all, being narrow-minded. Pride says you're never wrong. You're opinionated, overbearing, patronizing, pious, prejudiced. Remember the last time you might have been presumptuous, righteous, rigid, or self-absorbed. Maybe you were self-satisfied, selfish, smug, snobbish, special or spoiled. Words like stoic, stubborn, stuck up. Pride feels superior, uncompromising, unfeeling. may be unforgiving, unyielding, or vain. Just notice whatever's being stirred up inside. Let those memories surface. Let the feeling show itself. Could you allow it to be here, exactly as it is? Whatever has arisen, could you welcome it or simply notice it? Is there any wanting to be right, wanting to be seen, wanting to be special, to protect an image of me? And could you welcome even that? And is there any sense that this feeling of pride is personal, that it's about who you are, your worth, your identity? And could you simply welcome that sense of, this is about me, just for now? And then, could you let go of the tightness around this feeling? Just let it be. Would you? When? When we release pride, we're not destroying self-esteem, we're freeing it from dependence. Again, I want you to remember there's nothing wrong with pride or any of the feelings, but pride is a much better place to be than apathy. From pride, we can much more readily let go and move into the higher states of courageousness, acceptance, and peace. The point is that true confidence doesn't need applause, it simply is. Cycle through the questions a few more times until you've released some or all of the feeling. Now, before we move on, remember the first 6 emotional states we've been through actually form a thin crust over the next 3 emotions of courageousness, acceptance, and peace, where the first 6 mostly include feelings of I can't. As we allow ourselves to uncover the next 3 emotional states within ourselves, we begin more and more to feel like I can. When we experience courageousness, we have the willingness to act without hesitation. We can do, we can correct, we can change whatever, whenever needed. We have the willingness to let go and move on. Our bodies have a lot more energy than in pride, and it's available for constructive outward action. Our energy is high, available, and clear. Our minds are much less cluttered than in pride, and a lot less noisy. We are flexible, resilient, and open. Our pictures and thoughts are about what we can do and learn, and of how we can support others in the same way. We are self-motivated and self-reliant while still being willing for others to succeed. We can laugh out loud, even at our own mistakes. Life is fun. If apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, and pride were all different ways of resisting life, then courageousness is the first genuine yes to it. Below courageousness, every emotion was about defense, protecting yourself from pain, loss, or humiliation. In courageousness, you move from defending to creating. You stop trying to control life and begin to collaborate with it. Instead of, how do I survive this? You start asking, what can I make of this? It's like stepping from the passenger seat, where life is scary and unpredictable, into the driver's seat. Not because the road has changed, but because you finally trust your hands on the wheel. When you're in courageousness, you can acknowledge pain without being paralyzed by it. You can see problems clearly and take action without being weighed down by the what ifs. We tap the energy of courageousness every time we say yes to the releasing questions. Because courageousness is our natural state, we can access it no matter how covered over it appears to be at the moment due to the prevalence of any of the other emotions. So allow yourself to take a few moments and remember the last time you experienced courageousness. When's the last time you or someone you know experienced adventurousness? If that's a word. Adventurous. Alert. Alive. Assured. Courage feels aware, centered, feeling certain, feeling cheerful. There's a sense of clarity, compassion, feeling competent, confident and creative. Courageousness is daring, decisive, dynamic. You feel eager, enthusiastic. There's a sense of exhilaration. You feel explorative, flexible and focused. Courageousness can be a sense of giving, feeling happy, honourable. Humour, feeling like I can. A feeling of independence, of initiative, integrity, feeling invincible. You might have felt loving, lucid, motivated, non-resistant. Think of memories where you felt open, you felt optimistic, a sense of perspective, feeling positive, purposeful, feeling receptive, resilient, resourceful and responsive, feeling secure, self-sufficient, sharp, spontaneous, strong and supportive. Courage feels tireless, vigorous, like a visionary. You feel willing, you feel a zest for life. Just allow yourself to take a few moments and remember the last time that you experienced courageousness. Then give yourself a few moments just to be with whatever feeling this memory brings up in this moment. Could you allow yourself to welcome this feeling as best as you can? Could you allow yourself to let it go? Would you let it go? When? Could you allow yourself to be open to the possibility of courage, even just a little? Could you let go of holding yourself back? Could you say yes to this moment just as it is? Would you? When? True courage is like a willow tree, strong but able to bend with the wind. It's knowing you can make mistakes, laugh about them, learn from them, and move on. You don't need to defend an image of yourself anymore. You're too busy living. You feel more connected, not in need of others, but happy to walk beside them. You're willing to learn. Challenges stop being threats. They become invitations. The world starts to feel less like a battlefield and more like a playground of growth. It's not that life becomes easier. It's that you become easier with life. Or as Lester would put it, you don't just have freedom from the world, you have freedom in the world. If you're having a hard time letting go of a good feeling, please remember that as you let it go, you are allowing it to get better. By opening your hand, you don't lose the flower you're holding, you actually give it sunlight and room to bloom. When we experience a pleasant emotion, joy, love, pride, excitement, the mind often panics a little. Wait, I like this, I don't want it to go away. So we tighten up, gripping the feeling, trying to freeze it in place. But that tension, that clutching, is actually the beginning of its disappearance. When you let go, you don't lose the feeling, you merge with the place it comes from. You're saying, I trust there's more where that came from, and there always is. When you release while in a positive emotion, you're removing resistance even to that state. We all have an infinite supply of the positive emotions that are being covered over by our limiting ones. That is why positive emotions are often strengthened when we release, while negative emotions get weaker. In truth, you don't create positive emotions, you uncover them. They are always present beneath every storm of resistance. You are also weakening your lifelong tendency to suppress and hold on. So repeat the releasing process a few more times on courageousness until you feel as though you are able to let go of some or all of what you are feeling. Then move on to the next emotion. Acceptance. When we experience acceptance, we have and enjoy everything as it is. You stop fighting reality. You stop pushing and pulling at life. It's not resignation. Resignation says, I guess this is how it is and I don't like it. Acceptance says, this is how it is and that's perfectly fine. Resignation says, this is terrible, but there's nothing I can do. Acceptance says, this is what's happening right now. Let me meet it fully, then act from peace, not from panic. In acceptance, our bodies have a lot more energy than in courageousness. That energy is mostly at rest, yet available if we need it. Our energy is light, warm and open. Our minds are much less cluttered than in courageousness, and mostly quiet and content. Our pictures and thoughts are in love with the exquisiteness of what is. Life is joyous. Acceptance never gives a moment to complaint, but instead utilizes the time that would otherwise be spent in this way in looking forward and actualizing the conditions that you desire. It's not that acceptance makes you okay with being stuck in the mud. It makes you clear enough to get out without flailing and wasting your energy. Surrender is the word. It's not even the entire situation you have to accept and surrender to, only the tiny segment called the now. Eckhart Tolle says, surrender is a purely inner phenomenon. That means it's not about giving up outer change. It's about ceasing to argue with the present moment. That's when you become the most effective. Imagine you are stuck in the mud, as Eckhart says. You wouldn't lie down and make a home there and claim you're being spiritually enlightened. You also don't rage against the mud or shout at it for existing. You just stop saying, this shouldn't be happening. That single act of inner surrender releases the psychic tension, the resistance that eats up 90% of your available energy. There's a question you can ask yourself that you'll hear in further chapters that I love. What if you wanted it to be this hard? What if you wanted it to be this way? That's the kind of attitude that comes with acceptance. From there, you move calmly, intelligently, efficiently toward getting out of the mud. That is positive action, born of clarity, not compulsion. Nothing externally has to change. The mud might still be there, but internally, you've shifted from being against the moment to being with it. What can this moment make of me? And paradoxically, that's what lets you transcend it. Again, you don't have to accept your life situation, your debts, your breakup, your job loss. When you look closely, you'll realize that's a story. They are labels that your ego attaches to the now. You don't have to accept that as the ultimate definition of you. You don't have to accept the story that you're doomed, that things are unchangeable, unfixable. You only need to accept the sensations of this moment, the tightness, the fear, the pressure in the chest, as they are. And just like that lotus, you don't escape the mud by resenting it, you use it. It's the density of the mud that gives you the ground to work in. It's the nutrients of the soil that feeds your eventual bloom. Ralph spent some time releasing on his goals when the familiar feeling of "it'll never happen" came over him. He had an instant recognition that the message was only a feeling. He didn't even have to grab onto it. He saw a whirlwind of feelings arising within him, and he observed himself merely accepting the feelings without reaching out to hold onto them. The image of the whirlwind arose several times with less and less force until it ultimately vanished. Like having a stray dog come to the door, he knew that if he fed the feeling, it would come back, but if he didn't, it would eventually go away. So allow yourself to take a few moments and remember the last time that you experienced acceptance. When's the last time you felt abundance? Or when's the last time you saw someone else experience acceptance, abundance, feeling appreciative, feeling balance, feeling beautiful? Feeling a sense of belonging? Feeling childlike? Feeling compassion, considerate? feeling delight, elated, embracing. A sense of empathy, feeling enriched, feeling like everything's okay. Feeling friendly, feeling fullness, feeling gentle, glowing and gracious, feeling harmonious, acceptance feels intuitive. It feels like I have. It's being in tune, being joyful, loving, magnanimous. A feeling of naturalness, like there's nothing to change. Feeling open, playful, radiant and receptive. You feel secure, soft and tender. A feeling of warmth, feeling understanding, a sense of well-being and wonder. Just give yourself a few moments just to be with whatever feeling this memory brings up in this moment. Could you allow yourself to welcome this feeling as best as you can? Could you let it in and let it be? And could you let it go? Would you? When? Cycle through the questions at least 9 times, or until you've released some or all of the feeling. Remember to do your best to let go of the positive emotions. And when you're ready, move on to peace. When we experience peace, we feel I am. I am whole, complete, and total unto myself. Everyone and everything is part of myself. It is all perfect. The body has a lot more energy than in acceptance, but is totally at rest, still. The energy is quiet and calm. The mind is clear and empty, yet totally aware. There is no need for pictures or thoughts. Life is as it is, and all is well. Stephanie was holding her friend's 6-week-old baby. As he innocently snuggled against her chest, she relaxed into the experience of his trust. She entirely released her expectations and concerns. She was neither planning for the future nor worrying about the past, only resting in the now with a tiny infant. The baby had no concept of success or failure, no memory to carry, no future to anticipate. It simply was. Stephanie's mind went quiet, and what remained was the I am. It's the peace described by mystics for centuries, the peace beneath thought, the peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. In this state, life acts through you without strain. You move, you speak, you help, you decide, but there is no someone inside trying to manage and control reality. There's no longer any sense of needing to get somewhere. You've arrived where you've always been, the now. If apathy was the seed buried in mud, and courageousness was the shoot pushing upward, then peace is the lotus in full bloom, open, effortless, untouched. The mud didn't stain it. The climb through the water didn't scar it. It simply became what it always contained. And just as the lotus floats above the water that once covered it, one who rests in peace moves through life without being weighed down by it. Allow yourself to take a few moments to remember the last time you experienced peace. Feeling ageless. The sense of awareness, of being. Feeling boundless, calm, centered and complete. Feeling eternal. Feeling free, fulfilled and glowing. The sense of I am. Feeling light, feeling oneness, perfection, pure. Being quiet, feeling serenity, space, stillness. Feeling timeless, a sense of tranquility, being unlimited, being whole. Just give yourself a few moments to simply be with whatever arises now. Could you allow this feeling to be here? Would you? When? Could you allow this stillness to reveal itself? Could you rest as awareness rather than the feeling? Could you let everything be exactly as it is, just for the moment? Would you? When? Cycle through 9 times, or until you feel as though you've let go of some or all of what is here. Now that you've walked through all 9 emotional states, from the heaviness of apathy to the clarity of peace, pause for a moment and look at the whole terrain from above. You've essentially travelled the entire arc of human experience, from I can't to I can to I am. Below courageousness, every emotion was a form of resistance, different flavours of no. Above courageousness, every emotion is a form of openness, different flavours of yes. What changes as you rise isn't the world, it's the tightness of the hose, the degree to which life's natural energy is allowed to flow through you. Think about the lotus. The stages of the lotus were never separate plants, only different phases of evolution. the same is true of you.
Exploration. You are not your feelings.
As you journey through the 9 emotional states, your goal is to allow yourself to feel even a little bit more relaxed, in touch, and open to your emotions. But as you practice, if you're not sure or feel no change at all, don't worry about it. Remember that you're learning a new skill, and it may take a while to become proficient. At first, it feels awkward, like learning to write with your non-dominant hand. You have a lot more practice at suppressing and expressing your emotions than you do so far at letting go. So be easy on yourself. You've had years of practice with that dominant hand. You learned to suppress what felt unsafe to feel and to express what overflowed uncontrollably, but rarely to simply allow a feeling to be. Letting go is an unlearning, a remembering of how life releases on its own when we stop gripping it. So if you don't feel much at first, if you sit there asking, am I doing it right? Take a breath, smile inwardly, and let go of that too. Even uncertainty is just another feeling, another visitor at the door. Open that door widely and let it pass. Each moment you practice welcoming and releasing, even imperfectly, you're rewiring your inner world toward freedom. Soon, you'll be more in touch with your emotions and have an easier time identifying them and letting them go. Many people come to releasing thinking they must get rid of bad feelings quickly, as if discomfort means they're doing something wrong. But in truth, feeling fully is the first step. You can't release what you haven't acknowledged. Emotions are just emotions. They are not you. They are not facts, and you can let them go. Let's dissect this above statement. Emotions are just emotions. This may seem obvious. You might even shrug and think, well, yeah, I know this already. And yet, you're not behaving that way. If you're not doing it, you don't know it. Just watch your daily life. How often do you treat emotions as facts or commands? You feel anxious and assume, I can't handle this. You feel inspired and think, now everything's going to work out perfectly. It may seem obvious, yet this is not how most of us live. We were raised in a culture that mainly deals with emotions on either end of the spectrum. On one end, we deny our emotions and the effect they have on our rational thinking processes, on our health, or on our experience of life. The rationalist approach tries to push feelings aside as inconvenient noise, but suppressed emotions don't diminish just because you shoved it away. It just retreats and pulls the strings in the background. On the other end, we deify our emotions, investing way too much importance on the supposed messages that they are here to deliver and what that means about who we are. Both extremes have a degree of truth. Reason matters, and feelings do too. The trap lies in losing balance, either burying our emotions or drowning in them. Emotions are experiences, not facts. It's identification that makes emotions sticky. If anger is me, letting go feels like self-destruction. If it's just a passing state, I can release it without losing who I am. It's that identification that often makes it more difficult than it needs to be to let those feelings go. They are not you. This is a reminder that it's a false identification. Emotions cling to you because you cling to them out of habit. When you believe my guilt, my sadness, my struggle is the truth about life and what I've done, releasing that feels dishonest. But what if feelings are just sensations? Sensations plus a story, a tightness in the chest, a heat in the belly, and then the mind's narration that says, he disrespected me, that's what this sensation means. I'll never get there, that's why I feel sick. It's hopeless, that's why my throat feels tight. The story makes the sensation stick. But if you pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? You step outside the story and then you ask, am I this feeling or am I just experiencing it? You cut the glue of identification. That single question is like a hand unclenching its fist. Examine it for yourself. Emotions come and go, while who you truly are always remains. Emotions are not prisons. Again, they are experiences. We can allow them, notice them, and release them. Am I this feeling, or am I just experiencing a feeling? Create the space between who you are and what you feel. That space is freedom. It's the ability to let emotions rise and fall naturally instead of clinging to them or suppressing them. So I invite you, welcome whatever you are or aren't feeling in this moment. Just allow it as it is. Could you let go of your grip? Would you? When? If you want to get to who you are beyond your emotions, allow that to be for now. As you explore the Sedona Method and you start to practice releasing throughout the day, you'll uncover your true nature beyond the self-imposed limitations created by your emotions. Next, they are not facts. People have been absolutely sure of certain facts and limitations only to find the opposite was true. People have gone to war, ended relationships, and made lifelong decisions based on feelings they later realized were wrong. How many times have you thought, this will never work out, only to find it did? Or, this person is the one, and months later, you wondered what spell you were under? Emotions can be vivid, convincing storytellers, but they are not reliable. We relate to the input that we get from our feelings as if they are the be-all, end-all truth. But they are just assumptions that we think are facts. In some ways, our feelings are just stories that we have made up to explain a particular set of sensations. As Lester said, feelings are just programs running in consciousness. They are feedback, not final truth. The feelings arise in our consciousness, and then often, if not always, these stories come up and we use them to explain and justify why we feel the way we feel. Treating emotions like fact can be a problem because we end up making those bad decisions. So when a familiar feeling arises, It will never happen. I can't do this. This always goes wrong. Just pause. Breathe. And ask yourself, could I allow this feeling to be here? Could I let it go? Would I? When? And finally, you can let them go. The more you accept and employ your natural ability to release, the more every part of your experience of life will be transformed. Make a commitment to your growth. Take the opportunity to examine your life from the new perspective of high and low energy, and allow yourself to notice how the different emotional states are affecting your life. Also, do your best to incorporate the releasing process more fully into your life. Use the Sedona Method throughout your day. That's where the rubber meets the road. It's also where you'll start to see the profound results that are mentioned throughout this book. What is your now feeling? Could you let it in and let it be? And could you set it free?